Hey guys, how's it going? Eli here, back with another video where today we're going to be having a conversation about some big news in my personal opinion, as well as doing a general market update on all things Pokemon cards and product. Without further ado, let's just jump right into it. So as always, we do our weekly giveaways. All you have to do to enter is be subscribed to the YouTube channel, leave a like down below, and as well as make a comment down below on any of the videos we post each and every week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Of course, since you can comment and like on each of these videos, it will allow you to enter in multiple times into the giveaway. And then of course, we also have 3 winners each and every week that we announce for the giveaway. So multiple ways to enter, multiple ways to win. Once we of course hit our 2,500 subscriber mark, we'll be upping our packs currently from 8 brilliant stars per winner to 12 brilliant star booster packs per winner. So it'll be very exciting once we get to that milestone. I just want to say once again, thank you guys all so much for helping us get to that 2,000 subscriber milestone. But without any sort of delay, let's jump into the video. So a couple of announcements that are, generally speaking, I would say are relatively big, especially when it's been the talk of the town for the past week. It was indeed confirmed that the Vivid Voltage ETB reprint is still going to happen. So I actually have a couple of people I want to give a shout out to that. Northwoods Collector, he just broke 1,000. Shout out to him. If you want to go check out his YouTube channel, just look up Northwood Collectors if you don't already know. He is also a pretty good informational source in regards to Pokemon cards, product, and all things. He informed me that basically he had talked to his distributor and they told him that Vivid Voltage reprints was indeed going to still go forward. Another person as well I want to give a shout out to is from our Discord chat. His name is Ognorot. I'm actually going to show you one of the things that he sent me that was made by Paladin Cards. For those people that aren't aware of Paladin Cards, they are another site that sells Pokemon product. He announced that, talked to the owner of one of the vendors I use. ETBs was Pokemon sent a list with Wave 2 allocations, but then pulled it back. But Wave 1 still stands. There are only going to be one wave, just like DAB. He then reaches out to them, says, sorry, I'm a bit late to the conversation, so it's getting a reprint just for 1 wave. And then Paladin says yes. So as far as I know, I had absolutely no idea that was only going to be, or that there was going to be 2 waves. I was under the impression there was only going to be 1 wave, because that's exactly what happened with Darkness Ablaze booster boxes. And it's funny, we took a look at this on the stream today, but Darkness Ablaze Elite Trainer boxes, sorry, I said booster boxes, I meant Elite Trainer boxes, prices are already starting to come down and plummet. I mean, literally look at this chart, guys. And I told you, once you hit that $50, $40 price point, I said that's, in my personal opinion, was the realistic expectation of this, based on what we saw historically with these Sword and Shield Elite Trainer Box reprints, and then also what we saw with Shining Fates reprints. So going from that $139, almost $140 price point, and we're seeing some of the lowest list price sold at around that $48.78. I mean, it really just goes to show you how much this crash has really hit. I know a lot of people just recently told me that they're finally starting to see it show up in their Walmarts. I saw it in my Walmart a couple weeks back. So this price is just going to continue to plummet, in my opinion, and is going to be a really good pickup, in my personal opinion, long term. But back on to the main discussion with Vivid Voltage. So Vivid Voltage is more than likely going to be showing the similar pattern, and we can take a look, because we haven't looked in over a week, on what the kind of current price point of the Vivid Voltage Elite Trainer Box is. So it looks like it's just continued to go down. It kind of had a little bit of a flat line, but it's starting to slowly climb down again. But once again, the expectation is that these are going to be coming out in May. So I would kind of hold my reserves on waiting for when that reprint officially happens, and we'll be able to get in once again at a good price of around $40 to $50. Which is going to be absolutely amazing, because this is going to be one of those opportunities, in my personal opinion, that is probably going to be the best one of the best ones of the year, I should say, not the best one. And I'm going to go a little bit into an explanation of this, because people ask me, why do you think Vivid Voltage is so good? Why do you think Darkness Ablaze is so good? And then why do you think Shining Fates is so good? And I'll give my 3 explanations as to why. I've talked about this in videos before. If you've watched me on the live stream talk about this, if you've seen other videos, you can skip this part of the video. For those new to the channel, I want to give a full brief explanation. So I talk a lot about the time of rotational set sets when it comes to Pokemon. For those people, I mean, you should know this, but it's a Pokemon card game at first, you know. Of course, there's a collectability aspect, but it still is a competitive format. When taking a look at competitively viable cards, you typically have certain, you know, indicator markers showing you what part of the rotation they are in. So I know it might be hard to see, but if you take a look at this Pikachu, there is a little bit of a D marker at the bottom left. So that indicates that it's part of the D rotational format. So the current standard format for Pokemon competitive play is D Wave and E Wave. And then at the end of August, we're going to transition from D to E, and then we're going to be in the E to F. And then E to F is going to be Battle Styles, Chilling Reign, Evolving Skies, and all the other sets going here on out from that. So basically, what does that mean? It means that the D standard sets are no longer going to be competitively viable. And so therefore, historically, from what we've seen with sets like, you know, Primal Clash, Roaring Skies, Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds. We've seen a lot of these sets get reprinted right before any sort of competitive format rotation. So the expectation is that these are going to get reprinted, and then there's not going to be another reprint afterwards, because it doesn't make sense for them, because it's no longer in the kind of standard competitive format. And we can also see a correlation with this between a lot of cards that have really started to go up in value. Let's take a look at Fusion Strike, for example, and we can see some of the cards that are competitively viable that have gone up, one of which being the Mew VMAX. This will be a good example. As you can see, it started to just continue to absolutely dump, and then what do you know, it found its bottom and then has been climbing ever since. This is likely due to the fact that people are once again getting prepped for Pokemon Worlds. Tournaments are open again. Same thing with the Gengar VMAX. I mean, this is just a straight rocket upwards. And it's funny because, I mean, you take a look at Fusion Strike, booster boxes themselves, they're still relatively cheap. I mean, I was told that you could still find them, and we can take a look too for those people that are interested on eBay and see, okay, Fusion Strike booster box, and see what you can get for the price at its lowest point. $84, $85. Someone told me that you could. There you go, $79. I don't know if I would trust this. We can take a look and click on it and see if this is a reputable source. I would not look at this as a reputable source. Has 0 reviews, but I mean, you're able to get it for that, generally speaking. Oh, here's another one. I just saw it. Where did it go? I just saw it. Oh, I see someone was saying that 75, but with shipping. So if you're only buying one, it's not worth it. But $82, I mean, there's still some that you're able to get for a decent price. But in my personal opinion, if you're getting for anything under 86 bucks, you're getting it for an absolute steal. So of course, you know, not to kind of, you know, move on, or not to kind of get too off topic with this situation, or with the conversation. But basically the whole point that I'm kind of making with this is there are a lot of these competitively viable cards that have started to show signs of finding a bottom. Obviously some are performing weaker than others. As you can see, this Gengar V is not really performing the strongest, but mainly the staples, the VMAX, the Mew. Another good one we can take a look at is Duraludon. VMAX, that was another one that is a perfect prime example. Prices of it I know have started to go down again, but I mean, when you're talking about the fact of the matter, this card at its low was going for around $281 and then peaked out at, you know, 13 bucks, and now you're sitting at almost $10. I mean, that's still a 3x return if you had just held on to that card at its low point. So that's why I think it's very important, and this is something that you can really look into long term. If you are someone who's into the game or you want to get into the game, you can see a lot of these cards as really good forms of investment, because there is a lot of money to be made flipping cards that are going to be competitively viable right before tournament times. But once again, just going back and redirecting it to the main conversation in regards to Vivid Voltage, Shining Fates, and Darkness Blaze. As I've talked many times before, cards in the derotational set are more likely to get reprinted up until the lead up of when they are about to go out of rotation. And we saw that with booster boxes for Darkness, booster boxes for Vivid. We saw that obviously with Shining Fates Elite Trainer boxes, and now Darkness and Vivid Voltage Elite Trainer boxes. Only ones we haven't seen yet are Rebel Clash Elite Trainer boxes, Rebel Clash booster boxes, and then base set booster boxes as well. Do we know if that's going to be officially confirmed that it's going to happen? I can't really say if that's true, but I also said the same exact thing about Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze, and Shining Fates, and what do you know? We got all three of those reprints. So I would say that, you know, the theory that I kind of put out is been so far 100% on point accurate, but it hasn't been 100% in saying, which, I mean, I haven't made this statement, but it isn't 100% that everything's going to get reprinted, if that makes sense. So basically, of the items that I've listed, 100%, at least one or a couple of them on that list is going to get reprinted. But of course, once again, there's no 100% guarantee that all of them are going to be reprinted. Once again, speculation back going to Rebel Clash and Sword Shield Base. So speaking of which, another conversation I want to have leading into reprints is the conversation that I have made statements, and you know, this is of course all speculation, not financial advice, not financial advisor, but I have made speculations based on what we've seen historically going on with reprints for Pokemon booster box prices. If you take a look, Evolving Skies is hitting around 160 now. A lot of people have been asking me, Eli, when do you think a reprint's going to happen? And I've been telling you guys my personal thought process behind when I think the reprint's going to happen. Historically speaking, from what we saw with Vivid Voltage as a good chart to kind of show a correlation, I've made this video and this argument many times, but I want to kind of continue to reiterate it for new people, as well as now that we're back at 160. This is going to honestly really show whether, you know, my theory stands strong or whether, of course, I'm completely wrong, or who knows, I'm right and we're looking at it from a different perspective. And I'll go into what I mean by that. But basically, for those that don't know, my theory is that Pokemon is still, from the ultra modern perspective, in a bear trend. We saw that with Vivid Voltage booster boxes. When they hit their high, they went to 220, then dropped down to 120. Then they went up to 160 and dropped down below 100. With that, for once again, those people that don't know, this is called a just downtrend pattern. Every time it tries and goes up, it makes a lower high of a price when attempting to go higher, and then when it goes lower, it makes a lower low in regards to price. Since its first low was 120, went all the way up to 160. Another reprint went all the way down to below 100. It's going to be cheaper that next time around. So it's in a downward trending motion. With Evolving Skies, it's been in the same downward trending motion as well. You saw it go from 125 all the way up to around 190, almost pushing 200. Then you saw it have its initial reprints down to, you know, that 116 price point. Started to shortly climb up, but it was only for like a couple of weeks. And then you really started to see it plummet all the way back down to below $100. I know it's not represented on this, but you could buy it at the time for around $100 if I'm correct. Then of course you're now seeing it continue to rise. Now, like I said, lower highs, lower lows. That is kind of the general theme of a downtrend. So when do you think you could potentially see a lower high in the making? It could be anywhere between 160 to 190. As long as you don't see it, this chart recognize this as a 190 price point, then in my personal opinion, Evolving Skies specifically is going to still be considered to be in a downtrend. Of course, if it breaks above 190 and it gets a reprint above 190, let's say that they reprinted at $200, $210, then there is a strong argument to be made that Evolving Skies specifically, or even Ultra Modern, have really started to find their bottoms, because then it's making a higher high on the overall yearly chart. So price point right now is at 160. Personally speaking, I think we're in reprint territory. That means we could once again see a reprint happen within, you know, speculatively speaking. Of course, this is all just talk. None of this is confirmed. I have no insider information as it stands right now of Evolving Skies reprints happening. All I've heard from my distributors is that it's more than likely going to get reprinted. Of course, they don't know 100%. Of course, I don't know 100%. So I'm going to keep saying this. This is all speculation that I'm making based off of what we've seen historically. So, of course, I'm making this argument for the sake of what we've seen and just going off of trends and analysis, but that doesn't mean that trends and analysis aren't 100%. So 160, 170, 180, upwards of 190. We're in that range where a reprint could potentially happen within the next month to a couple of months, depending upon how long it takes for it to continue to climb past this $160 price point, potentially hit 180, potentially 190. Don't know how long that's going to take, but based on what we've seen in the past 3-month trend, within 3 months, it's gone from 110 all the way up to 160. If we take a look at what's happened in the past 1 month, it went from 134 all the way up to 160. So I mean, it's absolutely skyrocketing up right now. It's on the rise. And so I am, very likely, I'm pretty likely to believe that it's going to have to get a reprint soon, or else it's just going to get out of control in the overall value and price of Evolving Skies. And we saw something similar, very similar to this happen with Roaring Skies, when back during the competitively viable format, you had the Shaman EX card. It was going, the booster box was going for several $100s because the value of the card in and of itself was extremely high. It's basically the equivalent of to the Crobat card currently, and we can take a look and see for those people that want to see, because this is super important. But when looking at the Shaman EX card from Roaring Skies, when you play this card from your hand onto your bench, you may draw cards until you have 6 in your hand. That's a really good card. It was a staple for the longest time during the EX era. And you saw the same thing happen with currently going on in the Crobats. The only difference, of course, with this is that when you take a look at the Shaman EX card, you obviously have it Roaring Skies, and you've got the alternate promo. And other than that, that's it. That is all you have in regards to just the card that has the setup ability. Versus you take a look at, say, the card Crobat V. It's been in multiple different opportunities for prints. You've seen it in Shining Fates. You've seen it in Darkness Ablaze. You've seen it in Sword and Shield promos, that being the Trainer Toolkit. You've seen it with other Sword and Shield promos, being the Shining Fates Premium Collection box for Crobat. So it's had a lot of reprints. So the value of this card is not going to increase the subset value of, say, Darkness Ablaze or a Shining Fates ETB, because you're not going to just need to get it from one source. It's going to be available to be obtained other ways, unlike the Shaman EX. So going back to that, when continuing forward with the argument, Roaring Skies, of course, was forced to have a reprint due to that, and it printed the price of the cards into the ground. Went up from like I said, $200 to $300, if I'm correct. Obviously, I can't show you the history of the chart right now because it's not evident, but it went from a couple $100 all the way down to below $100, and absolutely destroyed the value of it. I mean, if you really want to see a good video that talks about it, Rudy from Alpha Investments made a video about it, saying Pokemon no longer has credibility in his point. I think it's a little rash. He tends to be hyperbolic with that kind of stuff, but he was just basically complaining, saying that it absolutely destroyed the value of Roaring Skies booster boxes. Understandably, of course, because when you take a look at some of the EX era booster boxes, it's one of the cheaper ones. It's crazy to think about. So we take a look at some booster box prices and we say to ourselves, all right, well, let's see from the high to low perspective, what cards in the XY era are super expensive. Phantom Forces, base set, or, Evolutions, XY Ancient Origins, Breakthrough, Primal Clash, finally, Breakpoint. There's another one, and Breakpoint was not a popular set by any means. A lot of these sets were not extremely popular, but it did eventually kind of overlap it. Don't know why I can't find Roaring Skies. Did I pass Roaring Skies? No, I didn't. It's just not being shown up for some reason. But yeah, I mean, Roaring Skies, Steam Siege, who's going to really say Steam Siege is going to be worth it, but Roaring Skies booster boxes obviously going for around that $400 price point now. When looking on TCG Player, you can find it cheaper elsewhere. But just comparing to kind of what they did with Roaring Skies, more than likely it's going to show a potential correlation to what they're doing with Evolving Skies, even though Evolving Skies doesn't truly have a ton of staples like, Roaring Skies did with competitively viable cards. The Pokemon Company still had the self-awareness to understand, hey, we've got tournaments coming right around the corner, and Pokemon World is right around the corner. And even though Evolving Skies doesn't have staples, it still has cards like Duraludon. It still has cards like Rayquaza. It still has cards like Leafeon. It still has cards like Glaceon. And these cards are competitively viable. This is one of my favorite sets to play. And considering the fact of the matter that how expensive this card is, if you want it, obviously, in this kind of variation, you take a look at how much it's valued at with the non-variation, of course, you can say it's affordable. Completely understandable, but when you're paying for a VMAX card such as a Duraludon, out of all things, for upwards of $10, Do you think the Pokemon company is purely going to make a reprint based off of just a freaking Duraludon? Of course not. So there's a different argument to be made when looking at this compared to Roaring Skies. It's more or less going to come from the perspective of demand generally for the set, regardless of the fact of the matter, when you're taking that correlation to Roaring Skies versus Evolving Skies, because the Pokemon company still has the self-awareness to print to demand, in my personal opinion, because I think that's something that is still very important. It's not like they need to have their deck blinged out right before they go and compete in nationals or worlds, I should say. But yeah, that's just a little bit of food for thought when kind of having that discussion with Evolving Skies. Tournaments are right around the corner. This is reprint season, guys, so it could potentially happen. And once again, talking about and reiterating what I said on last video, what do you talk about if you're wrong? Because obviously always having a backup plan. Okay, if I'm wrong, Eli, should I still buy in? Well, here's the deal. I'm going to continue to make the same argument, saying there's almost a 100% chance, 99.9%, because nothing's 100%, that Evolving Skies is still going to get that reprint. Now, if it breaks a higher high, then it's more likely going to make a higher low, which means that it's probably never going to see $100 again, personally speaking. It could if it gets multiple reprints. That'll make a different argument. And then we'll really talk about something else. That'll really be an interesting discussion to have when you're talking about from a charts perspective. But let's say hypothetically only gets one more reprint. Let's say it breaks, that 190 point, goes to 200, goes to 210, gets a reprint. Whatever that kind of bottom point is, whether it be 120, 140, I think that'll still be probably your best opportunity to get in long term, because I don't really expect it to have another reprint down the line. Personally, it could, of course, because we don't know, and I think that it really comes down to when we have it. If we have the reprint in the next couple of months, then you could definitely see it being reprinted right before 2023's tournaments. There's definitely a strong argument to be made with that, but I mean, we've already seen it have its 3 waves, have another reprint, about to hopefully get another reprint, and then it's going to get another reprint. I mean, it's possible. It's 100% possible, but I would probably lean more towards the fact of the matter, next couple months, gets a reprint, kind of peters out for a little bit, and then you see it get an ETB reprint. That's probably more likely. Because that's kind of what you saw happen with, Vivid Voltage and all these other sets. They got their reprints, they made their lower lows and their lower highs, and then they got their ETB reprint, and now they're starting to return in value. Obviously, Evolving Skies has been the best performer of all of the Sword and Shield era sets, so there's a different argument to be made about its strength in the market. So who knows? It could be an outlier and get multiple reprints. Perfect example is comparing for those people that have been in crypto, when crypto was in a bull market, in a bear market in 2017, one of the strongest performing cryptos was Link, and everything was going down and Link was going up. So it could be one of those outliers. There's always outliers in a market, but either way, the argument's going to be said that more than likely speaking, if it does get that reprint above that $200 price point, 210 makes that higher high, then I would say probably you're going to be safe to get in at that reprint price point of whatever it drops down to, whether it be 120, 140, before it goes up. And it'll suck if 140 is going to be ultimately that last drop point. But if you want to, you can always buy some and then pray for another reprint to happen, of whether it be Elite Trainer boxes or booster boxes. Personally speaking, if it is an ETB reprint, as I've mentioned many times before, ETBs tend to outperform booster boxes long term. So it might even be better for you from a collection perspective. Obviously, if you want to open, that's completely different. But only time will tell. Either way, ultimately speaking, you're going to just want to buy into the reprint more than likely, no matter what the price point is at. But last final point we're going to make, and I'm going to just kind of give you guys a little bit of a ranking, because I've had people ask me this question in the Discord chat. I've had them ask me this question in the live streams, and I'll just make it apparent in this video. Of the Elite Trainer boxes, which ones do I think that just got a reprint are going to perform the strongest? Shining Fates, Vivid Voltage, Darkness Ablaze. Give my ranking order. I'm just going to give you that in order, I think, from strongest to weakest, and I think they're all going to do fine, but I'll give you my explanation as to why. Shining Fates number 1, Vivid Voltage number 2, and Darkness Ablaze number 3. When looking at what we've seen historically, ETBs, or specifically booster box sets that have Charizards in it, they perform well. Shining Fates has Charizards. Shining Fates has Shinies. Obviously, it's not Hidden Fates, but it's still a good set that has Shinies, in my personal opinion. Not to mention, it is one of those sets that is part of one of the spring sets, and so historically speaking, they have performed a lot stronger than, say, just a regular standard ETB set with booster boxes. So I think it'll perform the best based off of those three factors. Vivid Voltage, I think, is going to perform better just based off what we've seen historically. Darkness Ablaze did okay. It was one of those sets that was very mid because it had the Charizard, but it still has the Charizard, so it'll still perform well long term because people are going to look back on it and be like, oh, it has a Charizard in the set. It'll be fun to open. But it's not going to be the most amazing because, unlike that, Vivid Voltage has the Pikachu, it has the amazing rares, and people love pulling the amazing rares. Might not be as valuable as it used to be, but same thing goes with Shining Fate Shinies. They're not as valuable as they used to be. So people are going to still have fun opening that long term because of that. So once again, Shining Fates, Vivid Voltage, Darkness Blaze. But so those are kind of the main points of the video. Just doing a little bit of a market talk update with Evolving Skies, filling you guys in with Vivid Voltage news, and then of course giving my pecking order ranking. So main points of the video, now wrapping it up. Main point number one, Elite Trainer boxes for Vivid Voltage will be still getting the reprint. It was, of course, I shouldn't say fake news, but basically there was a little bit of a miscalculation or misinformation, I should say, in regards to it having 2 waves, but it's actually going to have 1 wave. Don't think it's going to matter because Vivid Voltage, Vivid Voltage only needs 1 wave when Darkness Ablaze prices have already dropped from 130 down to 50 and 40. Next main point of the video, when talking about Evolving Skies, obviously made this argument before, but I think it's in reprint territory, just basically historically what we've seen. It's right before Worlds. It's starting to be one of those sets that is at the point in which it's going to create a higher high and based on what we've seen right now, Evolving Skies is still in a downtrend. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that soon. Once again, very speculative, not 100%. This is all just, me giving my 2 cents on what I've seen historically happening. No insider information other than the fact that my distributors have said that there's more than likely going to be a Evolving Skies reprint at some point. But of course, if I am wrong, then, and it does break that 200 price point, my argument's still going to stand no matter what. Once it gets the reprint, that's probably going to be your best opportunity to get back in, because I don't see there being a high possibility of them doing 2 reprints sometime by this year. You could see another reprint happen by the end of next year, or by next year, starting into the next competitive format before they go out of rotation. But more than likely, you could also see that happen with ETBs based on what we're seeing right now. If the Pokemon company is going to be going off of what they just did with Darkness Blaze, Shining Fates, and Vivid Voltage. Of course, leading into the final and main point when ranking my pecking order for which ones I think are going to perform the best. I think number 1, Shining Face, is going to be one of the best opportunities ETBs. Second runner-up is going to be Vivid Voltage, and Darkness Ablaze is going to be number 3. I think all of them are great to pick up. I think it's great to diversify, but that's going to be kind of my order in regards to what ETBs I'm going to be picking up in highest priority to lowest priority. But as far as it goes, that's all I have for today's video. As always, make sure to leave a like, comment down below, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to enter into our weekly giveaways. Post videos Monday, Wednesday, Friday for you to leave a like and comment on. So you can do that multiple times since you can like and comment on each video. We're gonna have 3 winners on top of that as well. So multiple ways to win, multiple ways to enter. And lastly, once we hit 2,500 subs, we're gonna up the packs from 8 Brilliant Star packs per winner to 12. So we'll be giving out a full booster box, which I'll be very excited to be at that kind of milestone. So thanks once again, everyone, so much for watching. Until then, I will see you guys on Friday. Peace.